I think this is one of the biggest points that I think is so exciting about it, and why I'm so like, okay, this is actually different, is that they're creating entertainment. And I think they've got that in mind. That mindset, I think, is what's been missing. And speaking of the future of speedcubing, it's time to talk about the PSL. The Premier Speedcubing League. The Premier Speedcubing League, if you will. So, I might do a little yap about it, and then maybe we'll go and watch Stu Cubes' video. Stu Cube PSL, you know? Actually, I'll tell you what we're gonna do first of all is I'm gonna give you some things to check out. Okay, I'm gonna give you some homework to do. Oh no, that's his live stream. I didn't want to watch that one. I wanted videos. Here we go. Okay, Ladies and gentlemen, Stu Cube, relax, eh? Relax, would you? I want to tell you. I want to tell you where you can find information. Okay. So let's go here. Breaking analysis coming in from Speedcubing TV in the chat. They did see the match, and they've got Sarcastic Mike on a loser bracket run. Okay, well, we'll see how that progresses. You can... League. I'm not doing a good job of typing here. Leagueway. I shouldn't turn this. I shouldn't let you see me typing because it's too embarrassing. So the Premier Speedcubing League, they dropped a little trailer about it. So did Speedcubing TV. There is a podcast you should go and watch on Cubers Live. Did you know Michael Chai was one of the founders of Cubers Live? Well, now you do. Shut up, okay? You should go and watch that. Inside the Premier Speedcubing League, you'll get some insight there. There is the Premier Speedcubing League channel, which you should all go and subscribe to as well. Speedcubing TV has a plot-worthy episode, not a +3 episode, a plot-worthy episode about the PSL interview with Michael Chai, where you'll get to hear a bit about the about what's going on and all that stuff. There's also, we're going to talk about this video from Clicky Studios in a minute as well. So there's like already like a few hours of content that you can go and find about the PSL, as well as their website as well. Oh, that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at the regulations drop today. So we're going to read the regulations, PSL regulations. I'm going to be video farming the heck out of this, by the way, because I'm really excited by it. I think this is something very, very cool that's happening. Someone's saying that there's a naming issue. Premier Skateboarding League dropped within the same week as well. That's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Lots of things are called the PSL. Try Googling PSL and see how many different things you can find. But that is a wild, that is kind of a wild coincidence that it's happening at the same time. Okay, so those are the resources that you can go and find. There's lots of information out there. I had a call with Michael Chai the other day, just like, because I've never met him, I've never talked to him. So we had a call just to kind of say, g'day, how you going? What can we talk about? What can't we talk about? Because I was just a little bit like, well, I really want to talk to him about board stuff as well, but we'll have two separate conversations. We'll talk about him and the board, and we'll talk about, the PSL, but the PSL is the one we really want to talk about now. The reason I want to talk about the board is because he resigned early from his position on the board, and then Premier Speedcubing League started. So there's an obvious timeline that I want to drill into a little bit there and just get a little bit of the goss. But mainly I want to talk about PSL and what his kind of ideas are around it. What's been really interesting is to find out that Michael and we have quite a similar approach to working things out and testing. We have a very similar testing approach. Some of you will know it as F around and find out. You know, the more you F around, hold on, reverse this. The more you F around on this axis, find out on this axis, and then success is the diagonal that comes off of those two, right? Whoop. F around and find out. Success. So he is all about that. That's kind of the approach he's bringing to the Premier Speedcubing League. He's already in a mindset of just like, I am ready to accept that it's probably not perfect straight off the bat, and I'm willing to take feedback and develop the idea as it goes, which is exactly the same thing that I took into the podcast when I started. Like, go back and watch episode 1 of CubeCast. It's rubbish. absolutely rubbish. And I knew it was going to be rubbish. There was nothing. There was no intro. There was no bits. There was no nothing. There was a plan. That's all I had, was a plan on what I was going to talk about. And I was like, I'm just going to chuck it out there and see what happens. See how people respond to it. Curious Nick, a trial and error approach. That's one way of looking at it. Yeah, it's going to be like, I mean, he's taking, as business people and as organizers of events, we take educated guesses, right? We look at what we think is going to work. We analyze it and we think, is this what we need to do? This looks reasonable. This looks acceptable. Let's give it a try. And that's what I'm really going to drill down to when I talk to him. I'm going to make a quick video this week, I think, because what I would like to do with my video talking to Michael, and he sort of co-signed this when we spoke, he was like, I'm ready for criticism. I'm ready to answer the hard questions. I'm ready to hear people's grumbles. And I was like, sweet, because there's plenty of them. So I want to get your questions and put them to him. I really want to use my time interviewing him to answer some of the questions that haven't been answered. Because with peace and love and respect, he's had a soft, he's not been drilled particularly hard in the interviews he's had so far. And I think I probably, to make my interview different rather than him just telling the same story he's already told, I'm probably going to take some questions from you and from my further audience when I put out a video about it. So more to come about that probably in the future. But let's just take a quick look at Stu Cubes' video, hey? Let's do that. I think that's probably the best way to do it. It's a relatively short video, and I'm sure Stu Cube won't mind. Is Stu Cube in the chat? He sometimes is. Mango's back. I'm back. Give me the recap. Regular Mike won. It was a tough match. Almost had a fairy tale comeback from... almost had a plot-worthy comeback, Matthew. Would you agree? Almost had a plot-worthy comeback from Sarcastic Mike, which was pretty exciting to see. Prosta, the approach to PSL is like the new content creator rule of done is better than perfect. Amen, brother. To an extent, Prosta. We are going to carry on and not get distracted by the chat, everyone. I'm out of practice here. I keep getting distracted.
Gentlemen, this might just be the most important video I have ever made on the channel. It's
Can
not
you
that
guys
I
hear
didn't
that all
think
right?
this day would eventually come, but seeing it actually be a reality this soon is unbelievable. It is what absolutely everyone has been clamoring for years now. We've gotten little glimpses of what it might look like, moments that made us believe it was possible. We have just been given news that after 43 years, we finally reached the turning point that is going to change speedcubing forever, and quickly. Because March 16th,
It's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting. So essentially, this is something that we have been talking about, especially me and my audience have been talking about this. You know, I've chatted to Manu about it. I've chatted to Dylan Miller about it. And I think Miller knew, I think Dilly Millie knew about this from something I heard on Manu's podcast episode. I think Dylan Miller knew about this when I've been talking to him about this, which is kind of wild, you know? So that's been really interesting. But this is literally what we've been talking about, like something that can create epic stories and can create really good head-to-head matches and really can treat speedcubing like a sport.
Marks the moment when the biggest what-if in cubing history becomes a why not.
Dylan in the chat, you absolute snake.
This jump that needed to be made as the tension in the competitive scene has ramped up. Not tension between competitors, but tension within the very system of how competitions are being run. People have been noticing that we have been setting ourselves up to fail. When you zoom out, it's clear there's been something off. A lot of us have felt it, but no one has actually stepped up to fix it.
That's a big thing as well. Lots of us have yapped about it, and I'm ready to admit that. We've all yapped and gone, I'm really particularly guilty about yapping, because I've come at everything. I've come at average of 5. I've come at, competition live streams are unwatchable, regardless of how nice they are. I just think it's a boring thing to watch as a spectator. It's not a good spectator sport. It is a good spectator sport, but the WCA competition is not a good spectator environment, in my humble opinion. Maybe it's because I'm New Zealand brained and all our competitions are really small. I've never been to a major, but still, I don't think they're good spectator events for non-cubers, and that's who I'm interested in. As I've mentioned many times before, I'm really interested in my mate being like, "There's cubing on tonight. Do you want to watch it?" Which is what Michael Chai's talked about. He's talked about Saturday Night Cubing. And I'm like, yes. This man gets it. That's what I want. And just as Stu said there, we've all yapped about it. Michael is the one who is actually stepping up and attempting to deliver it. And we're going to talk more about this later when we have a look at some of the wah on Cuber's Waz.
Really good at getting people into the sport, hitting record highs and new competitors every
WC
year.
is great at that.
But this new era goes beyond that and into a different realm entirely. We've had moments, an idea of what it might look like, and 2024 gave us some of the greatest of these moments we've ever seen. And yet still, it is an absolute miracle this has somehow been made as entertaining as it has. This meaninglessly complex format has been taken to its limit. I mean, head-to-head finals was never actually even a head-to-head scenario in the first place. It was clear that we needed change. The highest level of competitors have always been
there's Dilly Millie.
And for good reason.
I know him.
They all wanted the same thing. But there was never anyone there
Luke
to
and
give
Timon.
it to them.
I know them.
To give it to
There's
all
Max.
of us
I know him.
and completely overhaul speedcubing from the inside out. Until today, coming off the back of the greatest 6-month stretch in competitive cubing history. We could only keep making the same mistake over and over again since the first ever World Championship in 1982 until the future finally decided to arrive. Because we have never even come remotely close to what we're about to witness starting March 16th, 2025
Someone learned After Effects.
in Berkeley, California.
Woo!
The first of 6 locations
Nice,
for Season 1 of the Premier Speedcubing League. Ladies and gentlemen, this is...
There's been some confusion already. This is an in-real-life league. This is an American in-real-life league. Let's be clear about that. It's not an online league. It's not Monkey League. This is IRL. And it's going to be a bunch of places all over
the UFC,
all over the US.
When I tell you this transcends anything we have ever seen in the competitive space thus far, that is an understatement. There have been little bits of innovation here and there, but this is a complete redefinition of what speedcubing is going to look like moving forward. Imagine a bracket-style tournament. Think Rocket League, March Madness, the Power Slap World Championship. With
Power slapping is the. Can we just acknowledge that power slapping is the dumbest? Is the dumbest thing that's one of the dumbest things that's ever happened to the human race. Patrick Pond saying we've come close. It was Red Bull and it was peak. I agree with you, Patrick. You're preaching to the choir there. Red Bull had problems, but it was so good. Red Bull, COVID 100% was one of the reasons Red Bull didn't make it. I also blame the community to an extent for the reason Red Bull didn't make it, because it wasn't well received. But I also blame Rubik's and Red Bull to an extent because the format was a bit shonky. Like, peace and love, Chris Mills, Rescramble champion. But what the hell is Rescramble? What the hell is that? Dylan Miller, Red Bull was ahead of its time. I agree. And RIP.
It is specifically designed to be intense because there's not only money on the line. This quite literally is the narrative. A 4-hour production that unlocks what was never possible in the past. Not only is
Dylan, I'm
going to
talk about the reception after this.
Completely revamped, but the pure visual nature of what actually goes down at one of these opens is set out to be absolutely electric. One of the biggest reasons cubing isn't as entertaining as it could be is something no one really talks about. Competitors have always been discouraged from actually looking at who they're going up against or watching their opponent's solves, and have even been punished for it in the past. But with how a PSL match is designed, it is inevitable that the head-to-head
I love how Michael has taken a look and gone. Thank you for subscribing, Patrick. How Michael has taken a look at it from a completely fresh lens, not as fresh as Red Bull. You know, Rescramble and the head-to-head, they had weird things. They really went outside the norms in terms of inspection and things like that, which I think maybe was a little bit too much. I'll give them that. I love how he is coming from a sports angle and is really taking a sports angle and a sports vision to cubing. I think in the same way, actually, that Speedcubing TV are doing as well. I think Michael Chai refers to Speedcubing TV as like the ESPN, like as our ESPN. And I feel like that's a pretty valid point. You know, they're in there looking for the stories, and they're in there with professionals in terms of production and in commentary as well. There's an incredible episode of Plus 3 with, is it Rosenkratz? Michael Rosenkratz? I've just got his name wrong, almost 100%. But it's a great episode. He is such a pro, man. Like, he is amazing. I was listening to him as someone who has worked in broadcasting. I'm a ex-radio presenter. Listening to him just being like, hot dang, this kid knows what he is doing. Just listening to him talking about prep. I say kid because you're much, much younger than me, but you're an adult. You're in your, I think your early 20s or something. But like I was listening to him as like a further generation, way generation removed from me. But just being like, game recognized game in terms of what he's doing in his prep and how he conducts himself in the interview. Amazing. But I'm getting beside the point. I like the fresh looks that people are taking is what I'm trying to say, you know?
More personal now. Because it's set up in a kind of darts format where one player steps up and does their solve.
Darts is good. Does anyone else play darts?
Them, creating this direct darts. Contact and pressure of knowing...
Fun fact, my mum and dad were on a mixed doubles dart team. Cute.
Exactly what you have to beat every single time you walk up to the solving station. The streaming of cubing events has always been held back by one thing. We've always had the gear and expertise to make it happen.
WC events suck.
Never existed. Imagine a
terrible
massive
to watch.
screen in front of the solving station on this side, playing the stream live whilst in the venue, kind of like, you know, a jumbotron at any kind of other sporting event. There will be commentators, a crowd. It's the first time cubing has ever looked like this. Sure, Gan's $10,000 tournament they did last year was cool, but it didn't have the raw intensity or personal stakes of your average PSL match because of how it was set up. This is a true 1v1 setting where...
I'm not going to bag on SSL. I thought SSL was very cool. Obviously, it's smart cubes, so that's a big difference. But I thought it was very, very cool in terms of how it was put together and how it was executed.
Perform under pressure will be...
But it was in China. So it didn't really help all the NA cubers. This is specifically, excuse me, and geographically in America. So it's like, yeah, we can have all of our American, or we can have all of our Western personalities in there. You know what I mean? Whereas the obviously the Chinese one had all the Chinese personalities in there, and it was tailored to a different audience in that respect. We didn't have as much as English speakers who don't speak Chinese, right? You see what I mean? We didn't have as much of an emotional connection. We had the statistical connection. We could see what they were doing. We could observe what they were doing. But I feel like there's more emotional connection for me personally as a Western person who doesn't speak Chinese. I can relate a little bit more personally to these guys competing in America whose names I can actually pronounce for a start. I'm such a terrible person. But you know what I mean? Like I have more of a connection and I know more about their background and I can understand more about their story just inherently than I can from people from another culture who speak another language. So I think that's why I guess what I'm saying is that's potentially another reason why a lot of people just didn't really engage that much with SSL as much as maybe China did. Although a lot of that's speculative.
Factor. But as for the best part, the tournament itself, which will see a bracket of 8 of the fastest speedcubers in the world, 4 directly selected by the league itself,
important.
The other 4 determined by a much larger 64-man bracket held the same day.
Okay, so this is an important point that I think a lot of people have missed in their criticism, going, I don't know what's happening, it's not been explained. It's right here. 4 are picked by PSL. The other 4 are whittled down from a 64-person bracket. Relatively
one
easy to understand.
One of the most interesting dynamics,
I think,
you'll
unless
have a
I'm
mix of
misunderstanding
both those who are chosen to take one of the top 4 seeds and another more unpredictable group to go against them in round 1. On March 16th at the Bay Area Open, we'll go through the utter chaos of the large bracket stage to determine who these 4 will be, and once the final 8 are locked in, the first ever head-to-head on this big of a stage will begin. First to win 3 solves gets a point, and the first to 3 points takes the match and moves on to round 2. If you lose twice,
here we go.
Eliminated, which means we'll probably see some pretty wild comebacks from the loser side of the bracket, like we have in the very few times we've seen a bracket style.
My understanding is that the 64 is a double elim bracket as well, right? Is the 64 man, the 64 person part, is that double elim as well?
Cubing event. The final step towards making all of this a reality.
I'm sure I heard Michael Chai say that, though.
Pressure is such a large part of the PSL. Every single solve has consequences, and that's exactly how the new era of speedcubing will define its champions. The tournament continues until the final match, where the winner of the Bay Area Open will be crowned with the first ever PSL Open title. We will see
Dylan saying, if I recall correctly, top 64 is single elim first to 3 wins. Okay, cool. Dave Neville, what have I said that's not true?
A total of 6 of these opens from San Diego on March 22nd to all across the US. All of it, of course, being streamed on Speedcubing TV, the ESPN
Man, America's
of
huge,
competitive cubing.
I often forget that. I was sailing last night with some people from Oregon, and they were like, yeah, the state's like, what did they say? Like 500k up and down, 700k across. And I was like, oh, dang. America's huge. And they were talking about, talking a little bit about the sort of difference between states. And I was like, yeah, well, gosh, I get it now. If you think about, the differences between states and state identity, which is something I, as someone who's never lived in America, very hard to understand. Oh, Dave. Okay, so I got the 1632, 16-8. It's the 8 person is double elimination. The 64 isn't. Gotcha. And then Dylan backing that up as well. Oregon based. Yeah, Oregon, it sounds like New Zealand from what they were telling me about. They got glaciers and you can go sailing and surfing and you can go skiing and all that kind of stuff too. They got coffee, Pinot Noir, craft beer, all that stuff if that's what you're into. Sounds pretty cool. Sounds a lot like New Zealand, just not quite as far away from everything. I said to the lady Barb, like, why don't you move to New Zealand? It's far away from everything. No. She said, I can't move to New Zealand though. It's just so far away from everything. And I said, that's why I'm here, because it's so far away from everything. And that's the way I like it. Thank you very much.
Print for where speedcubing is going. It finally gives people an actual incentive to reach an elite level. And perhaps my favorite thing about all of this is something so simple that we've somehow missed all along. The direction we're finally going in is one where you don't even have to be able to solve a cube to enjoy competitive cubing. In 2025, it is going to be pure entertainment. This isn't just the biggest step forward competitive cubing has ever taken. It's a collective vision that everyone has had, but has never really been taken to this level before.
I think this is one of the biggest points that I think is so exciting about it, and why I'm so like, okay, this is actually different. This is actually the thing. Is that they're creating entertainment, and I think they've got that in mind. That mindset, I think, is what's been missing. We have, if Mayor Nick's still in the chat, he might have some thoughts about this, but I feel like the live streaming production companies who are like trying to make the best of a WCA competition. Well, there's a phrase where I'm from. I don't know if this is a worldwide term, but I feel like trying to make the best broadcast out of a WCA competition is literally polishing a turd. Right? Does that make sense? You're trying to make the best out of what you've got. And again, no hate to WCA. That's not what I'm doing here. But what I'm saying here is a WCA competition is set out with competitors in mind. Entertainment for non-cubers is not a priority. Okay? But I feel like the approach being taken here is that they're going entertainment first, not competitor second necessarily, because it's like the competitors are the entertainment. But you see what I mean? They're leading by thinking what is entertaining, and they're leading about that important market, which is non-cubers. You cannot understand how much bigger the non-cubing market is than cubers, which is just nothing. Okay, so that's exciting for me as a punter watching this happen.
The Emperor Palpatine figure behind the PSL will take very little credit for before. Michael Chai, the Emperor Palpatine figure behind the PSL, will take very little credit for what he's giving us here. He's always wanted to make it more about, the storylines and the competitors, and turning this whole world into what it deserves to be. So just know that without him, none of this would have probably ever happened. For years, we have dreamed of cubing reaching this level.
And you can go, and like I say, you can go and listen to Michael Chai talking more in depth about this. If you still have questions, just go and listen to him talk first before you get on the internet giving it, wah, wah, wah. You know what I mean? Give the man a chance. So you've got the not +3. On Speedcubing TV, you've got the Plotworthy podcast, Michael Mayernick's podcast, with Dylan and Michael. Then you've got Manu talking to Dylan and Michael as well. I will have an interview with him next week. It'll be a pre-record probably. And like I say, I'll put something out asking for everyone's questions.
Come out of nowhere in a format like this is something that I didn't ever imagine would happen this soon. When I said 2025 would be the greatest year in cubing history, this is what I meant. The PSL is a new chapter for cubing, and March 16th will be the very beginning of the future. The moments and clips and narratives we will get out of this is something I have wanted to see for a very long time. Now that it's finally here, You're not going to
Clip
want to miss out on
farmers
all
rejoice.
the beautiful things coming. So make sure to subscribe to me, subscribe to Speedcubing TV, and you can't subscribe to a 6-year-old, but you can lose to them in 3x3.
My average is under my
after
age.
like the 50th video that I've told you this, it
Well
will get
under
old,
my age.
but it still hasn't. It's just as fun every single.
All right. If you haven't subscribed to Stu Cube, what are you doing with your life? Frankly, if you haven't subscribed to Speedcubing TV, what are you doing with your life? Frankly. Also subscribe to Premier Speedcubing League. And Dylan Miller, obviously. Okay, so yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm excited to talk to Michael about it. I'm excited for all that's going to come out of it. I'm excited to see what happens when I put some of these broadcast outcomes in front of my son, for example, or my mate. You know, my mates that are my age and who don't cube, but they know that I cube and they know that I love it. So it's an easier sell from that respect. I just be like, hey, there's a cube thing on. Do you want to watch it? And they'll be like, nah, sure. That's when I want to see how they react to it and how they go. Mango Cuber, it is too bad if anyone breaks a world record because it won't be official. Even though they'll probably be doing everything as well. I will be talking to Michael Chai about that as well. Okay, that's about all I have to say about the PSL in that regard.